Welcome to Vision Plus. Today we shall look at functions, which is a topic in additional mathematics. And the introduction says that previously we discussed the relationship between two variables using simple equations such as y equals to 2x plus 5. In this equation, the variable y is a function of x. The variable y is a function of x, which can be written as y equals to f of x. This means that y is a function of x. And since y was initially given as y equals to 2x plus 5, the equation can be written as f of x equals to 2x plus 5, simply because we have said that y equals to f of x. So where there is y, we substitute for y as f of x to mean that y is a function of x. And therefore y equals to f of x and f of x equals to 2x plus 5, which was the given simple equations. In these functions, such as the function above, the inputs and the outputs are real numbers. This is very important in the real number system. Here we are saying that the input values and the output values are real numbers. For example, if we consider the function y equals to 2x plus 5 for this case, and we tabulate a small table where we have the input values. The input values are the values of x. And then the values of x, which are the input values, are going to give us the corresponding output values, which are the values of y. So the input values of x is any number, is any real number. So x is any real number. So x can be -1, as we have seen, can be 0, can be 1, up to positive infinity. So x alone is just any real number. So you choose any values of x, any real values of x, and then you find the corresponding values of y using this simple equation. If x is a -1, then you come and substitute here. 2 times -1 plus 5, and that gives us 3. What if x is 0? You also substitute in the same equation here, and the corresponding value of y will be 5. The same applies to 1, the same applies to 2, to 3, and then to 4. So for any real input value of x, there is a real output value of y. That means both the input values and the output values are real numbers, as quoted clearly here. And then we proceed. That was what we learned previously. But now in this chapter, we will consider broader functions. What are these broader functions? These are functions whose inputs or whose outputs are going to be integers, sets, strings, and even characters, and characters, among others. And for us to visualize this easily, let us suppose that we have two sets. Suppose set A and set B are two sets of numbers and a certain rule. If you have two sets, set A and set B, and then there is a certain rule that assigns each member of set A to exactly one member of set B, such rule is what we call a function. So to define a function is a rule that assigns each value of set A to exactly one value of set B, just as we have seen in this expression on the table. If x is 1, which we could say, assuming this was set A, if x is a -1 rather, then a function will assign a corresponding value of y in set B. So that rule is what we call a function. So a function is a rule that assigns each member of set A to exactly one member of set B. That was the definition. Now, we say that set A is called the input value. Set A is a set of input values, and the input values are what we call the domain or the object values of a function. So when I ask you to find the domain or the object, it means I'm asking you to give me the input values of the function. In most cases, the input values of the function are the values of x. That is, in most cases, but it depends on the question and the variables given. Now, set B is called the output values. It is the set of the output values, and the set of the output values is what we call the codomain or the range or the image values of the function. That means if the question asks you to find the codomain, it is asking you for the output values. And in most cases, the output values or the codomain or the range or the image values is what we call the values of y. That is what we call the values of y. So in summary, a function is a rule that assigns each value of a given set to exactly one value of another set. If you suppose two sets, set A and set B, the first set is what we call the domain or the object values. That gives us the input values of the function. The corresponding set B is the set of the output values, which we call the codomain, the range, or the image. Both the input values and the output values are real numbers. And by saying real numbers, we mean that the input value is not a number divided by 0. We also mean that the input value is not a square root of a negative number. And the same applies to set B. So this is the end of introduction to functions. In the next class, we shall begin doing numbers and apply all the concepts and the definitions of terms that we have learned from this introduction. Thank you.